Let this video be a sobering reminder of exactly how special being an American and living in the United States really is. Tonight, after watching this video, I will make sure I clutch and hold on to my American flag just a little bit tighter. Because if they could do this here, they would. The problem is we're armed and we have the First Amendment. As long as we have a constitution, which the Democrats we could get rid of, as long as we have the constitution and we have men that are not just willing to kill, but to die defending, then they cannot do this here. But remember, an armed society is a polite society. And they're going to use any excuse they can to disarm you and to rip out your tongue. And this is what happens when they're looking, there's always a saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. And this is another example of them applying that saying to real life. Take a listen.
National security investigations teams are a flying squad of hate disruptors who focus on high harm, high impact, politically motivated violence, communal violence, and hate crimes that don't meet the threshold for terrorism investigations, but that we know drive fear and division. This is
what they're basically doing is they're going to start to crack down on dissent. Again, there's a war going on that you might not realize between the Zionists and the World Economic Forum globalists. The Zionists versus the globalists. The globalists have been moving their armies of Islamic men into these key locations where Zionists have had a historical stronghold outside of Israel. So the UK, France, the United States, Canada, Australia. Recently, Australia voted to recognize Palestine as a state. Netanyahu made threats, but what that means is that the World Economic Forum has actually penetrated the cabinets of this country and have been able to get their officials to vote in favor of Palestine, which is basically voting against Israel. What Israel is doing now, because they are still in control of the media and some of these politicians, is they're trying to basically outlaw anyone saying anything negative about Israel. If you speak about illegal immigration, or if you speak about the war in Gaza and genocide, they want to be able to arrest you. The problem is they don't even have enough jails to do that because everyone has seen through it. And it's like you're now trying to put people to get the citizens involved in their proxy war, and people are trying to understand why. But just like in the UK, they want to take away your speech. You can now go to jail for memes. So it's a pipeline, your opinion, straight to prison. They're letting immigrants who are rapists and murderers go so that they can fit people who are just complaining about the laws and the immigration policy in jail. Because what they're saying in the UK is that, oh, your post gave someone else anxiety. So I'm supposed to be in control over your anxiety, your ability to deal with reality, your ability to read criticism from another person online. I'm supposed to be in control of that and control what I'm saying and what I'm thinking. It's absurd. These are thought crimes. But remember, in these other countries that are formerly of the Commonwealth, they do not have a written constitution where freedom of speech is enshrined, where the right to bear arms is enshrined. They do not have it. What does this mean? This means now you can and will be arrested for dissent, speaking negatively about the government, speaking negative about policy, speaking negative about officials. You don't even have to make a threat. Just talking about them in a negative way or anything they do wrong, they can say, oh, our officials feel threatened. Your complaining about them scares them and it causes them anxiety. That's a crime. And they're locking people up for it. But you want to tell me we're not special. You want to tell me that the United States is like every other country on earth. There's nothing better. The Constitution means nothing. Everybody has freedom. No, everybody fucking doesn't. These other countries, they speak English. They're first world countries. They do not have freedom. They are completely controlled. And they're literally tightening the noose around the people more and more. Now, I remember what they did in Australia during the lockdown. I remember what they did in Melbourne to all the residents there. And that's when people found out that they were not free. They were being arrested on the beaches during the summer. They were doing raids of people's houses like they were selling drugs, but it was just because someone snitched and said they had broke quarantine. Oh, two people have spoke to each other when they were in the market. That's not allowed. Both of them kidnapped, taken to these camps, these quarantine sites in the middle of the northern peninsula, way out in the outback. They went to tribes and people that have reservations for the Aboriginals. They went to their reservations where they don't really have any human contact, and they arrested those people and transported them to concentration camps that were built solely for COVID restrictions. The same thing was starting to happen in Canada. One thing about Canada and Australia, they always parallel. Canada is just about 4 to 6 months behind Australia. So whatever you see happens in Australia, you're going to see it happen in Canada. And Canada is just to our north. They're on our border. So that means we are going to be surrounded. Right now, you have Scheinbaum in Mexico. So that's the Zionists. And you have the World Economic Forum that have taken control over Canada. And we're in the middle. We're in the middle. So we're going to see this happen, but you got to understand we are special here. And that's why our values, and we must maintain control of our own destiny. We can never give ourselves over to the World Economic Forum, and we can never let control of the United States leave the hands of patriots. And you'll be surprised to see how many people in politics that are Americans with citizenship and speak English, they are not patriots and they are not real Americans.
All about stopping hate and division earlier and well before it leads to violence. So far, this crack squad has charged 14 individuals across 13 investigations, and of those, 4 individuals across 4 operations were charged for offences relating to anti-Semitism. The teams were...
Anti-Semitism is now outlawed in Australia. So you can't say anything disparaging. You can talk about blacks, whites. You can talk about people from Tasmania. You can talk about people from China. You can talk about Japanese. You can talk about people that come here from Laos or these other countries. But don't you dare say nothing about someone who's Jewish.
Responsible for a recent national blitz on the distribution and display of prohibited symbols, and for charging a passenger who only this week allegedly threatened violence toward a member of the Jewish community on a flight from Bali to Sydney. The announcement today to boost the numbers of our hate disruptors, as well as planned changes to lower the threshold for hate speech, will make...
So, as you can tell, if you've been keeping up, apparently the UK is 6 months ahead of Australia, and Australia is 6 months ahead of Canada. These are the only other English-speaking countries in the world. This is it. South Africa. South Africa, Nigeria, New Zealand was formerly of the Commonwealth, Canada. I mean, you can say Germany and France, but they're not English-speaking countries. It's the West. They're doing this in the West. These are Western nations. This is war. It's 5th generational warfare. They couldn't beat us with their armies. So now they're outsmarting us and they're using lawfare to bring us down. But I know we're surrounded from the north and from the south. And this is just another step towards their agenda, stopping people in these countries from being able to say anything about Jewish people or anyone from Israel or criticizing the genocide. But it goes further. Now they're going to apply that to anyone who says anything bad about anyone in politics or in government, where they've literally criminalized dissent. If you think your government is being too lenient or helping Israel too much and you say it, you're going to go to prison. This is completely insane. This is Literally, these are thought crimes, your opinion to prison.
Make it easier for the AFP to take action quicker. It could be the difference between us just knocking on a door to warn an individual to an individual being placed in handcuffs. Essentially,
I'll be honest with you, I'll never volunteer to go to Australia. They banned Candace Owens, so luckily we don't have to worry about dealing with them. But it just means that we're getting weaker because another Western nation has fallen. So now there's even less of us. This isn't good. This isn't good at all. But it's war. And war is ugly.
A prime minister under siege, sharing the shock and anger of a nation.
I acknowledge that more could have been done, and I accept my responsibility.
What more could have been done on Bondi Beach? Oh, you mean the police could have acted? But the problem is you guys are so weak in Australia and you're so cucked. They're kind of like the Americans. If you would have stopped the criminals too soon, well, then you would have been called a racist police officer because you shot the criminals. The police on Bondi Beach that day were so afraid of being called racist or being called oppressive or being called evil and white that they were afraid to stop the guys that were standing outside shooting random people. It took another shop owner to actually run and grab one of the guys because it was a father and son duo. It took a regular citizen to do it because the police were so afraid not of getting shot. The police weren't afraid of getting shot. They were afraid of being called a name. They were afraid of being called racist for stopping these Muslim terrorists. You should have seen those cops in the videos. They completely froze the fuck up and they put their hands up and they were like, I'm not racist. Please shoot me, but just don't call me racist. These people, it's crazy. No matter where you go on earth, the only thing that can stop white people is shame. The ones that I remember, the Vikings, the settlers, the colonists, they weren't afraid of shit. They were the strongest, bravest people on earth and they dominated. Do you know how crazy it is of an exploit when the people that you dominated figured out your biggest weakness isn't your Achilles heel? Your Achilles heel is your shame. All someone has to do is just call you names and you turn into fucking putty. You just turn into jello. Hey, you're a racist. It's like, why do you care what people say? Who cares about name calling? You have to do what's right. Yeah, they're going to call you racist, but they're terrorists. What do you care? They stood by and watched this all happen. But every government on earth wishes, well, a lot of governments do it, but a lot of our governments in the West wish they could criminalize dissent. And this country has now, so is the UK and Canada. So we've lost a lot of ground here, but it's just insane that they are trying to go so far as to, and it's messed up. I love Greg Abbott of Texas, my governor, but even he's trying to push anti-Semitic hate speech laws on college campuses. DeSantis is trying to do it in Florida. I think it's fucking disgusting. You can talk about everybody, but not these people. They're not better than anybody. What do you mean they're chosen? They're not the chosen people. If anyone's chosen, it's Americans. Americans are the chosen people. They're not the chosen people. So passing laws saying you can talk about everybody except for them, that's not going to work. And it's unconstitutional. And the Constitution is the law of the land. I don't care which government official you are. We will never obfuscate that. That's not going to happen. Just to see how far and how fast countries like Australia, the UK, and Canada have fallen, it's just disheartening and it's sad because I've been to all these places. Not Australia, but I lived in Europe. I've lived in Canada. And I remember at one point in time, I was a naive idiot. I used to tell myself that all countries are free. Everybody has freedom of speech. Maybe they don't have guns, but they, and now I understand the importance of having guns. It's so that nobody can ever threaten to take you to jail for your fucking speech. I wish you would threaten me. I wish you would try it. I'm armed. And they can't do that here, but they wish. This is the wet dream of anybody on the left in the United States. This is the kind of porn. Kamala Harris watches these interviews in like this interview right here in Australia. This is what she considers porn. They want to take away your speech. They want to be able to arrest you for dissent. They don't want you talking about how they're alcoholics or they're genocide or how they sell the organs of babies that are from abortions in California. Look it up. She's a part of that whole Planned Parenthood thing. And it came out and a lot of people left her alone after they discovered it. Imagine if the people posting those stories, she could have just had them arrested and blamed it on, well, I feel anxiety because these people scared me. They're posting about my past. It could have been us. This could be us easily. But luckily, we have men with guns standing behind the Constitution to enforce it and to protect it. We will keep them there. But I just hope these men that are armed, protecting our Constitution, never get so weak that you can shame them into putting down their guns. I hope it never happens over here. But we shall see. Like and subscribe, share the video. If you have an American flag, you might want to hold it a little bit tighter tonight because we have a lot to be thankful for. Be thankful you were not fucking born in Australia, Canada, or London. Be grateful that you're here in the United States if you're hearing my voice right now. Remember, America first, America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.